All right, how about, have you paid anything on your fines and costs?
If I had the documentations of how much I've owed, yes, I'll pay that. I get paid every Wednesday.
What do we know about Article 8 and 10, failing to abstain from the use of drugs or alcohol?
In addition to admitting.
A tense courtroom hearing unfolds as a woman returns before Judge Jeffrey Middleton after years of probation problems. Court records show missed probation appointments, unpaid fines, failed drug tests, and unanswered questions about whether she followed the treatment requirements. Now the judge must decide whether these violations are enough to revoke probation and send her back to jail. But during the hearing, the defendant explains she has recently found stable housing and is working 2 jobs while trying to rebuild her life. Now Judge Jeffrey Middleton must decide if this probation failure deserves punishment or one last chance.
This is the time and the day set for a probation violation hearing in the matter of People versus Kiera Nicole Mullins. Ms. Mullins is here with her lawyer, Mr. Ross Truckee. Also present is Daniel Frezine from the probation department. Prosecutor's office is not present. As I'm sitting here right now, I don't know whether they got notice of this, but this is not a probation violation arraignment. It's a hearing regarding the allegation that the defendant violated her probation. She was charged with domestic violence second offense, although I think this was actually a 4th offense, charged as a misdemeanor, reduced to domestic violence first offense. This is an old case, 222327. The defendant on January 6th of 2023, Daniel Frezine was assigned to supervise this probation, and it's had a rocky road. There was a previous warrant for failing to comply with probation. Defendant got arrested in May of 2025, pled guilty to the charge. I'm not sure what happened because it shows another plea. That must be the June 2nd of 2025. She was AWOL for some time. And then we got the case back on track. On June 2nd, she was placed on a 12-month probation, 13 days jail, credit 3, leaving 10 days to serve deferred. She was not eligible for a deferral. She was to have no contact with the complaining witness, who was James Cooley, and no assaultive or threatening behavior, no alcohol, sign of release, take her medications as prescribed. Then the wheels fell off and Daniel filed a probation violation. I would note there's also a request for a personal protection order, which I set for a hearing at the same time. So we're going to deal with this first, then we'll stop the live stream and we'll discuss the personal protection order case. Daniel Frezine filed a probation violation petition in January. He alleges she was placed on probation on June 2nd of 2025. And bear in mind, it's a 2022 case. So there was a big gap between when the defendant was first here and when she finally pled and got sentenced. He alleges that she failed to report to probation as required by the probation officer, failed to pay fines and costs, failed to abstain from the use of drugs or alcohol or test on demand, failed to participate in treatment, and failed to abstain from any assaultive or threatening behavior. That was set for February 11th at 9:30 a.m. The defendant did appear at that time and pled not guilty to these allegations. There's a history in here of the travails in this file. Daniel also has a recording of what's apparently a very abusive telephone call between the defendant and her mother and some other issues. The court has not heard it. Daniel has, as I understand it, shared it with Mr. Truckee, and as I indicated, the prosecutor isn't here. Mr. Truckee, what's your client's position here today?
Ms. Mullins would admit to violation of Article 3, failing to report.
Another issue is I don't believe we ever got any release assigned, did we?
No, no, I tried twice since I was in court last time to confirm with Pivotal Family Center about treatment, and they both said they don't have ROIs, so they could not confirm she was in or not in treatment. I did confirm with KOCC that the only test that she has ever done was back in, I believe it was September, with a positive test for marijuana. September 2, 2025, and she has failed the test ever since.
I suppose I should place you under oath. You swear or affirm any testimony you're about to give here will be true to the best of your knowledge and belief.
I do.
And testimony you just provided regarding your follow-up on this probation are also true to the best of your knowledge and belief.
I do, yes.
All right, so we don't know one of the things she was supposed to do was sign a release. In fact, I mentioned it again when she was here last time. We still don't have any releases. She admits failing to report, or I guess it's sufficient. You're also indicating she wasn't testing, and we don't have a release. Is that your understanding?
Ms. Mullins does report her services are through ISK, Integrated Services Kalamazoo.
We understood she was seeking, but we've never been able to get a release from any of these agencies to find out, is she actually there, what she's doing, what she's participated in. And when she was here in February, I again reiterated the fact that we needed releases. We did confirm that she was in treatment. Attempted to confirm that she was in treatment. And never really quite got confirmation. We have reason to not believe everything she tells us, but you were able to confirm that she is working at Summit Polymers.
That is correct.
All right, the petition alleges in the very first article that you failed to report to your probation officer as required. The also allegation is you failed to pay fines and costs. Has she paid anything on the fines and
No,
costs?
Your Honor, not as of this morning, I looked at it.
And did you have a treatment program that you wanted her to participate in?
The court, I believe, told her to participate in treatment and then sign a release for the.
And we don't have it, so we don't know what she's done. All right, so then the allegation of assault and threatening behavior would include this voicemail message you got to her mother.
Correct.
All right, Ms. Mullins, you do acknowledge that you failed to report to your probation officer.
I did report. I can't pull up all of the phone records because one of my phones is broken, but there is a inconsistency in the December 12th reporting, as he claims he called and left a voicemail. He called me at, I believe, 1:36, and I called him 20 minutes later, and we had a conversation, and I updated him that I had transferred counselors, that ISK was working on even getting me into the program because they had to schedule me out about a month. And I've also updated him of my locations throughout my probation. There's an inconsistency in the first reporting of him my mom calling and claiming I hadn't lived with her for 5 weeks, but I just turned myself in June 5th because I was living with her. So I don't see how I wasn't there for 5 weeks and I was in Ohio.
So you're not really admitting to failing to report.
There's
First problem is we lost track of you for 3 years.
And that too, like I told you when I first came and turned myself in, I was in Ohio because I left. I had nowhere to live. When I got bonded out, my trailer flooded and I wasn't allowed at my parents' house. I went to Ohio. James followed me there, and we also went to jail in March because he attacked me there as well. Yes. And I came back here to turn myself in because my mom finally let me live with her, and that was my only stipulation, was to turn myself in and try to get my life back on track.
So it appears there's not a plea of guilty to that article.
All right, how about, have you paid anything on your fines and costs?
If I had the documentations of how much I've owed, yes, I'll pay that. I get paid every Wednesday.
What do we know about Article 8 and 10, failing to abstain from the use of drugs or alcohol?
Well, in addition to admitting on record at her arraignment that she was still using marijuana and she knows that she's not supposed to, we have the positive test on 9/2 and then months of mistesting.
Which I explained to him because it was $25 a test and I was not working and I was living in my car in the homeless shelter, which he knew that.
All right. Article 9, failing to participate in treatment program is directed by the probation
Can't
department.
verify any of the treatment and was instructed numerous times to sign an ROI, so
The Family Health Center in Alcott, I did sign with. They said he's never called.
they said that she signed a release to consent to treatment, not a release of information. So that's what they were not able to get me. As you can see, obviously from the demeanor, there is a difficult situation with dealing with Miss Mullins.
I'm not
I
usually that
would, I'd
difficult to
object
deal
to
with.
that. Being
Ever.
part of-
Yeah, well, that wasn't a response to a question. But then no assault or threatening behavior. What can you tell me regarding that?
Since everybody likes to call me mentally ill, it's dealing with my mother using my child as an emotional weapon against me. And yes, I snapped off because I wasn't allowed to spend Christmas with my son. But I don't see how that has anything to do with my probation.
Well, you're charged with domestic assault and you've got some other assaultive convictions in your past.
Dealing with the same one person that I've ever had any type of assaultive issues with. And the only other person in my life that has brought me to the point of being that with her are two people in my life, James Cooley and Nicole Mullins. I've never had issues with anybody else outside of that.
All right, where is James Cooley now?
Exactly.
Well, where is he?
I'm not allowed to know, and I don't have contact with him. She contacts him for my son. He talks to my son more than I do.
All right.
I don't know.
He's your son's father?
No, he is not my son's biological father.
Okay.
He is the most toxic relationship I've ever been in, and I was fighting for my life to get out of that relationship.
All right, well, this was way back when. The more difficult relationship has been with your mother.
And it always will be, sir. I'm sorry, but I can't have a relationship with somebody like her, and I never will. But that doesn't make me a bad mother. She can file a PPO. I don't ever want to be around her again. I just want my son back. That's
Well,
only the problem that's
and
ever been.
Let me touch on that for a minute. I don't have control over that.
No, but the PPO is kind of outrageous.
Well,
Me
I
and her
haven't-
have been on good
we're
terms
gonna-
as of
we're
the
gonna-
beginning of this
We're gonna
month.
get to the PPO here in a minute. Now, Daniel, your recommendation originally was just for 10 days jail and revoke the
Just
probation.
deferred time, correct.
So she had been placed on a probation. The sentence was for a deferred time.
I didn't ask for any additional time. I just figured
Just close this probation out.
close it. The way I looked at it was, that's probably what she would have been given if there was no probation. We tried to assist. It didn't work out. So just go back to the drawing.
Yeah, there's always a question. Should you punish someone for trying and failing?
On that point, Your Honor, I'd requested the underlying complaint police report from both the prosecutor's office and Mr. Frazee, and it's not been made available to me. So I'm left very hamstrung with knowing what the crime this punishment is about. I've had Ms. Mullins' version relayed to me by herself, but I'm not aware of Mr. Cooley's conduct, the police investigation, the injuries sustained or not, any of that.
Mind you, he attacked me in my house.
Well, like I said, well, I'm chagrined by that. A, the prosecutor should have provided it. B, Daniel should have provided it. And B, you shouldn't show up and say, hey, I don't have it. You should have gone to the office and said, where is it? It had to do with, they were living together at the time. He was on crutches and she hit him with a crutch, I think. Yeah, she hit him in the head with a crutch and his head started to bleed. That was what the original allegation was.
I'll note that essentially tracks with the version of events I was given.
All right. She was charged with domestic violence in 2016 and she did a deferral. That matter was completed. She was charged with domestic violence, second offense in file number 201046. That matter was dismissed by the prosecutor. 2021, she was charged with assault and battery and disturbing the peace. She pled to disturbing the peace, got 1 day in jail and a fine. 2022, which is this case, she was charged again with domestic violence, second offense. I thought there was one in 2018 too. Oh, that was a resisting obstructing. from Judge Pattison. So anyway, part of the problem is what we're dealing with happened 4 years ago. She went off the grid for several years, and then one day she just appeared here at the courthouse. So we did resolve the matter with a plea. I deferred to jail. What I wanted to do was see how she was doing in counseling, and I've never been able to see it. I didn't want her to use any drugs or alcohol, including marijuana. That hasn't failed. I don't know anything about alcohol or anything else. The main concern is I never got any confirmation about any kind of treatment. She disappears for 3 years, shows up, I put her on a probation, and then it's like things evaporate once again. Then assault cases, we have an additional condition of no assaultive or threatening behavior. That's over and above criminal behavior. Assault and battery have specific definitions under the law. Assaultive or threatening behavior could be simply yelling at somebody, causing a scene or disturbance or other things short of an actual assault. Daniel contends this voicemail, angry, profane voicemail to your mother was assaultive or threatening behavior, and you've acknowledged it. You snapped and went off over the telephone. This would all just could go away, except for the fact that you have a son and your mother has been appointed as temporary guardian of your son. Again, that's outside my purview. That's from the probate court. And because of your mother's concerns, she filed for this personal protection order. You have a couple of options when you get a personal protection order. You can grant it, you can deny it, or you can set it for a hearing. So I was reluctant to just grant it without more information, because then it's going to be very difficult for you to have contact with your son.
It already is.
I understand. And your only and primary goal is to get your son.
And she can have the PPO. So
All
I
right.
wouldn't want to be around her anyway.
However, the court has some concerns about the safety of your son, and you're living in your car.
No, I'm not living in my car.
I mean, during the pendency of this.
That was a small increment of time. Ask me about where I've been for the past 6 months. Ask me how long I've kept the 2 jobs that I've been
All
working.
right, well, let me ask this. How long have you been at the place you've been for the last
6 months.
All right, where is that?
823 North Church Street is my best friend's house, the 4-bedroom house.
Yes, and you told me that at the time of
Can be
the.
inspected, CPS, anything. Never had a problem there.
All right, and you told me that person.
She's brought my son there 4 times. He stayed the weekend there twice already. She's
All right.
never had a problem with me.
All right, I'm glad you got a place. Tell me about your jobs.
I work at McDonald's on Portage Road in Kalamazoo. I also work at Summit. That's where I came from straight today. I work 6 a.m. to 2:30 at Summit Polymers, Plant 18, and I work 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. at McDonald's on Portage Road.
Daniel, were you aware of McDonald's?
No, I was not.
I can provide pay stubs. They're just all virtually on my phone. Everything I have is virtually on my phone. And I had signed a release of information, but like I said, I can still get documentation that I've been seeing David Sink since November.
All right, then why won't you give me a release? I've been asking you for a
I signed
release
it
since
with
the
Family
day
Health
I.
Center on Alcott.
No, you
Okay, well,
you signed a
like I said, I
release
can
for
go-
treatment. I
I
want to
signed a
know,
release of information.
that was my primary goal.
He's my psychiatrist. I can confirm with him that I signed that release of information and gave him Dan's information as well.
Well, that's not what Dan says. And I've been asking for it since 2022. Now, so Daniel, she's got a place to live. She's got these 2 jobs. If I pull the pin and give her 10 days in jail, she's going to lose both jobs. That seems counterproductive. For an assault on an assaultive boyfriend 4 years ago. I do believe there's enough evidence by admissions in your testimony to show that she has violated her probation. I can revoke it, get off your back, but I want you to lose your jobs. I can continue it, and continue to supervise this. And your position is, well, I lost my trigger and I snapped. I haven't heard this thing. I may want to hear it. It was very upsetting to everybody else. That it's like, well, I lost my temper, so too bad. They need
I'm
to
not
deal with
saying
it.
it like that. I was very upset. As a mother, I don't play about my child. And when she's using him as a weapon because of whatever she's going through internally, I snapped because this is so outrageous and wrong. I would never do that to her. I signed him to her for the better interest of my son, to not be in a shelter or a tough situation. The reason I get so triggered is because on Christmas Day, I'm outside of her house trying to see my son, and she calls the police on me and treats me like I'm some animal. But she lets that man, James, see him, call him, talk to him more than I do. And it hurts. Because I'm his mother. She can't have kids. So she doesn't know what it feels like
Well,
on the inside
why
to get
would-
that angry.
Why would James have contact with her?
Ask her that. I would like to know why he has contact with my son when I don't, and he's not his
Well,
biological father.
We will ask. So he also went to jail in Ohio. You
Yes,
both went to jail at the same time.
yes, same situation. He refused to leave my house and we got into it. Because as soon as somebody moves in and gets mail at your house, you have to evict them for them to leave. You don't get to just tell them to leave.
Well, that's generally the rule. Once they become a tenant of some type, they can't just show up overnight and then establish a tenancy. But if they move in, yes, you can't just throw them out. All right, I find there is a violation of the probation. I'm gonna stop the live feed and stop this, and we're gonna discuss the personal protection order request. Now, Mr. Truckee doesn't specifically represent you on the personal protection order, but I've sort of combined these.
After reviewing the probation violations, the testimony from probation officers, and the defendant's explanation, Judge Jeffrey Middleton must weigh two competing realities. On one hand, the record shows missed requirements and concerning behavior. On the other, the defendant claims she has finally stabilized her life with steady work and housing. Cases like this highlight the difficult balance courts face between enforcing probation rules and recognizing genuine attempts to change. So the question becomes, should someone who breaks probation still get another chance if they're trying to rebuild their life?